Welcome back. Now, while the boys are not quite being separated from the men, this year's Super Rugby tournament is starting to designate its top dogs and wooden spoon candidates. And David, your side, Stormers, they look like they're going to hold the wooden spoon this time round.
Yes.
Last weekend, the match between Brumbies, it was a zero-sum game, you know. Whilst the Brumbies have sort of acquitted themselves, Stormers are really staring down the barrel of a gun.
Yeah.
And the injury of Schalkberger won't help
not helping, yeah. But I think it's harsh on the Stormers. They've had some very tough fixtures to start with, apart from the Lions. I mean, you go and play at Crusaders where you've never won.
Yeah.
You play the Chiefs next, and you play the finalists from the final last year as the fourth game.
Yeah.
I think the only game they gave away was the Lions. And even with the Brumbies game, into the last minute before the penalty try, which flatters the score, I think they had acquitted themselves well. Yeah. They'd given away some two soft tries. I think that's uncharacteristic of the defense. So I wouldn't write them off totally. I know there's been questions around Alistair and his coaching style, and since that loss in the Currie Cup last year, are they still the same confident side? Are they still the same side? I think they'll answer the critics' questions when they play the Reds this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. And Philip, your side, the Blues, we had Victor Matfield making a return as a captain last weekend, and they ended the Sharks' unbeaten run. And Matfield was pretty dominant at the lineouts, wasn't he?
Very dominant. And you know, when you look at the Bulls game, I remember my friend David Mutaka here in one of these episodes telling me Matfield was luxury on the bench. Yeah. I think that's egg in face again for him. Yeah, but Matfield really had a good game, but I had an exchange with Ramsey. He's one of the most ardent Sharks fans I know in this country. Yeah. And I told him, look, it's a game you are likely to lose. And he said, no, we can't. But when you look at Sharks, yes, they have had good form, but they started all their games at home, and they've had that home advantage. And Sharks always struggles when they're out on the road for the first time. Yeah. And now you're facing a Bull side that is having good vein of form. Yeah. I mean, everyone was talking of Moni Stein and Pat Lambie kicking, and of course, unfortunate to them, they lost Lambie there, and it had a big impact on the game. But all of them forgot there is one man, Jacques-Louis Potgieter. Yeah. Ever since he came in for Bulls, he's been awesome, and I think he had a 90% kicking record in this game. He probably missed only one. So it's those little things that make the difference. But at the end of the day, I would say it's one of the best games I've watched as a Bulls fan. Okay.
And briefly, going into the weekend, what are some of the standout fixtures?
Of course, today we'll have the Blues taking on the Highlanders, Red Stormers, Bulls facing the Chiefs there, Sharks Waratahs.
Okay. This, of course, takes us nicely into our final interview. A storm has been brewing ever since the Top Flight Rugby League was downsized from 8 to 6. We've been to find out what's fueling the resentment.
The idea of having 6 clubs started, I think, sometime in July. Was it July? Yeah, I think around July, if I'm correct. Now, at that time, the new ExCom had just come in, and I remember there was a lot of debate over that. So what that ExCom did is they called for a CRT. And at that CRT, there was a lot of discussion, and as the Mongas guys rightly said, it was inconclusive. Then, if I remember right, there was a second CRT, which was called, and there was no quorum or something like that. I know I wasn't around for that one. I think there was no quorum. Then eventually, what the ExCom decided was to pick the points which were raised at the first CRT. And one of the key points was the way the whole thing had been brought up. Remember, it was supposed to take effect immediately, and it was based on the Uganda Cup results. So that was one area of contention which was brought up clearly. Then a few other things, but I don't think the issue of reducing to 6 at a later stage really came up at that point. Okay, so those issues are brought up, and then the ExCom sent them to the TC. They gave us actually a list of I think 4 or 5 options. 2 more options were added, and then the TC was asked to debate it, to discuss it. So we discussed it at the TC level, and after discussing it, there was still divided position on what direction to take. But one thing that came out clearly at the TC was it can't work this year. Let's move it to. If we're going to do it, let's do it next year. So we eventually ended up going to a vote. And when we voted, the position that came through the vote was that won the day was let's move it from 8 to 6, but starting the following season, 2014-2015 season. So that was actually what we went through, and immediately that result came through, it was sent to the ExCom, and the ExCom ratified it.
Paul, of course, there he has one foot in the union and the other in his boyhood club, that's Izimani Rhinos. But he does give a measured take of what is a pretty chaotic, if not a fragile situation, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. I think he clarifies. He gives an insider's view of what happened. He's very non-committal on many things, which is the right thing, I suppose.
Yeah. Politically correct.
But I think the thing that he says that given what the current rules and regulations are, the relegation is legit and the walkover is legit. Now, I know there are so many people out there saying, should it be 6, should it be 8, should it be whatever? And I think that's not a debate we should dwell too much on. I think sanity will prevail at the end of the day. I think everyone wants to promote the game. And as to what that brings out and those pains and how we deal with those, I don't know that we are the best suited people to be talking about it.
No, we are not. And to answer David, we've sat with the union before about their strategic plan. And one thing we told them that is really vital that they need to work on is to get a communications manager. And if you have all this information relayed out as it happens from the start, the less chaos and drama you'll have at the end. Because now everything is going backwards all of a sudden. And every time we go backwards, the story seems to change. At the end of the day, us ourselves don't look like we even know what we are talking about. So I think that's one of the challenges. Yes, that's one of the challenges they'll have to put right. They need to get someone in charge of communication there, and it will save us a lot to do with all this.
Obviously, communication is one of the things that they have to sort out there. And Entebbe Mongers have been saying this, for years on end, that they haven't, the dialogue between them and the union has been at best quite, patchy.
And I think, again, going back to structures, the basic communication is there. But if you don't have your people in place to receive it, then it gets lost. Can the communication improve? Definitely. The angle should be more than just informing to a PR level, to a level where you say, you know what, this is valuable to us and this is how we communicate it. Going back to the issue of 6 versus 8, I don't know how well you would have communicated that you're not playing next year. Even if they wrote it with the rose colored whatever and everything else. I mean, it's that I think that at the brunt of that matter is the fact that there's some teams losing and some teams seemingly gaining. Though even the teams that are gaining, the 6, are saying, it's too small. 10 games in a league is not enough. So, and then someone saying, competition. Can you imagine 6 teams playing and every game is a final? For a sponsor, for a fan, brilliant. But then I see them only 10 times. That's barely a month and some. So 14 weeks seems, much better. So it's a good philosophical debate to have. I think it's one that even we ourselves, if you gave us the opportunity, we could go on all night. So beyond communication is to say, what's the best thing for rugby? And I think that's what everyone hopefully wants, beyond just saying, you know what, you didn't communicate, I didn't know until the last game, then you XYZ. And,
But I will stress that the point of communication, because I really think for the union, at least that's what these people are saying, and I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here. They're saying that the union is acting in a dictatorial kind of manner.
Yes.
They've come out and come with these grand plans, which they have for Ugandan rugby, thinking of strengthening the second tier, which is good. But have you sounded out the clubs? Have you sounded out the sponsors themselves?
Yes.
Because if they enter the deal expecting 14 match days and you're knocking off 4 match days and they are getting 10, I would imagine they are getting shortchanged, at least commercially, if I've injected so much and I expect to get so much out of it and I'm not getting it back, I would feel shortchanged. Also the players, as you rightly said, will feel a little bit shortchanged because they need those matches, to be brought up to speed,
That's very true, Robert. But in a way, I think there's been a wake-up call in this whole thing. Because if you look at what the president is trying to do recently, he's decided to meet all clubs individually.
Yeah.
Listen to them and market what he's trying to do. Okay. Give his side of it, they give their side of it. What we pray is that eventually they find a mid-level point. Because I know he's met Cobs and Pirates. I think he's going to meet this coming week Warriors and Heathens. But also, like you said, there are some angles that even us had not really looked deep into, I would say, as the people who are debating this. Like the commercial angle, it's very vital. You have sponsors coming on board. For example, NTV saying, look, we are going to air this number of games for 3 years. So there's probably a math to it, and then the games are reducing. So there's a lot of goings on that have to be done and agreed on as this goes forward.
But to touch on commercial value, it could be 10 weekends of high impact rugby versus 14 weeks of
low impact.
Show up if you want or not. If I come with 13 players or I give a walkover, it doesn't matter. That's also not commercial value. So I think both sides have their merits. And their demerits. And just like any decision, I don't think there's any change that will come and give everyone what they want. And there'll be some sacrifices to be made.
Well, let's hope all concerned parties will be able to play it smart. Speaking of which, smart plays have been the order of the day at the ongoing Protector Super Series. We've asked a few rugby personalities about the bedrock of their good lives, and this is what they had to say.
And finally, what's your smart choice? Protector. Thank you very much, Simon. Finally, your smart choice. Protector. That's the only answer. Finally, your smart choice. Protector. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening. And your smart choice is? Abstinence. That's smart choice number 1. Abstinence in terms of just your choice, smart choice. You've heard of the 8 of them. Some said abstinence. What's your choice?
Use Protector if you must, and I beg you to give some to my teammates, to my team. They have won a game, so I know the attention that they have is quite intense. So I beg that you give me some for my team.
Okay, smart choice number 3.
Are you serious?
Yes, he's serious. Thank you very much. Alan, enjoy the rest of the evening.
Interesting stuff. Remember, good sportsmanship and smart play produces a good life. Still some time to remind you about today's game between Protector and Crocs. That will be relayed live here on NTV from 4:30. Otherwise, that's it from us today. We'll see you soon.